Alright guys, Fula coming to you with another video. Shout outs to the whole LDBC. So, as we know, um, it's business as usual with Carbon Nation, Nothing's really changed. It's just the same old thing, same old shit, different toilet, basically. I think this time they're in Panama, if I'm not mistaken, in doing their fuckery. Now, I just want to talk about something that was said by the idiot Nature Boy. That I really was questioning why would he have the audacity to open his mouth to say stupid things that he says. I guess he didn't learn anything when he was incarcerated. And what I have to say as well is that now he basically I want to say it basically he's back to the same thing that he's usually done before. That's what he's back to now. I want to comment on something. I want to expand on something that he said that was very, very it was very, very, I want to say, if I can put on a word on for it, is very, very degrading. Yes, degrading. He basically said that a woman's job is to be a wife and be a mother. That he said that's all she should be concerned with, and that a man should provide for her, and she shouldn't have to worry about working, and she shouldn't work, period. That's what he said. And in essence, that her job is just to be in the house, and that her job is just to basically tend to everything inside the house. That's basically her role, and that she shouldn't have any other roles, and that a guy should be the one to provide for her. Well, first and foremost, I want to say that if that was the case, we can't really call him a man, because he doesn't provide for any of them. I mean, his whole provisions come from donations, which means he doesn't have a job, and he hasn't even created a job. He's just decided to sit on his ass and basically fetch for donations, and I guess he considers that providing for his wives, relying on other people to basically provide for his quote unquote wives. So that's his first strike. Second strike is that even in nature, women have various roles that sometimes have to do with being outside the house. Some of these roles have to do with doing different things, that just don't tend to the house. Even in my tribe, the women, sometimes it'll come down to it that they have to like tend the cattle, and another thing that the women in my tribe do is that they, most of the time the burden of selling the cattle products like yogurt and like cheese and like butter, a lot of that is done by women. you know if you go to any like open air market in Africa or in Caribbean in Latin America, most of the time you'll notice that women are the ones who are doing that, because they're the ones who usually are just reaping the harvest of the produce that the men plant, you know, and that their men tend to and harvest. So it's a teamwork thing, as they say, teamwork makes the dream work. And so when he said that, seeing that, I, have seen this with my own eyes and things like that, it just really annoyed me, and it just really was just really stupid that he really had the audacity to say something like that. I want to kind of read something that that I'm reading right now. I'm reading a book. It's about the Grenadian Revolution, and for those of you guys who don't know, Grenada is a small island country in the Caribbean, and what they had is they had a revolution, and that revolution made sweeping changes to that one small island that was unlike all the rest of the Caribbean islands, And so the leader, he was very charismatic. He was very, very serious about making the necessary changes for the island, He wrote pretty much in length about women, and I'm just trying to find the article, basically, that he wrote about the women, and I'm just going to take a couple of excerpts from that, that article, Yeah. So the article was titled Women Step Forward, and so what there's some key things that he wrote. There's some key things that he wrote that unfortunately, it basically describes Nature Boy's opinion on women, basically. So let's at the end of the day, what I want to say, Nature Boy basically just exploits women, We've seen it many times in the past when he's made porno videos of himself and his pass-arounds, public, and that's how he looks at them. I hate to say it, but he looks at women as he looks at women as basically a doormat, and you can just step on them. He doesn't look at women as I want to say an individual in her own right. You know what I mean? So So this little excerpt that I'm gonna read basically describes how Nature Boy looks at a woman, and this is what I don't get. If you're a woman and you are following him, you don't have respect for yourself, and you don't hold yourself in high esteem at all. You really don't. But basically, this is how Nature Boy feels about women, and this was written by Maurice Bishop, or spoke by Maurice Bishop. We know that historically there have been many reasons for the exploitation of the woman. The domination by the male started from fairly early times and was a product of the fact that the man at a very early period of history looked around him and said, "This is my cow, this is my goat, this is my pig." In other words, he began to identify property for himself, and in no time at all, he also turned around and said, "This is my woman." And of course, the reason for that was to ensure that and heir to whom he can pass his property was produced. In other words, the woman was essentially meant to serve the interests of the generation that he was fathering, and the main significance during that early period of the woman was as an instrument, if I may use such a crude term, of childbearing for the purpose of assuring that property that was passed on. But the problem is with this, with Nature Boy, is like unlike him like wanting to pass on property, since he doesn't have any property to pass on as it is, he wants to produce, unfortunately, children so he can groom them, and especially women children, so he can groom them to basically serve him, and God knows how, he wants like children to serve him, I mean, I don't even want to think about it at this point, you know. But let's continue. These are just some things that stuck out to me, basically. But we can definitely, now that I say, we can we can basically say that that Nature Boy is no better than the slave master, because he does have this mentality in which I'm about to read. And if you're a woman and you're okay with this mentality, then I can't help you. You need professional help. So Maurice Bishop goes on to write, the exploitation of the woman, which can be seen from these early days, was evident indeed with all stages and epochs of history. All the great modes of production known to mankind have seen the exploitation of women continuing. Just as in the days of slavery, the woman's main function was to produce children so that the slave master would have more human labor that he can exploit. Unfortunately, with Nature Boy, excuse me, my nose is a little runny, but with Nature Boy, he exploits that child, he definitely exploits it. And that's pretty much why he wants, that's pretty much the only purpose that that child has, is that, it's sad to say it, but I mean, he doesn't love that child. He doesn't love that child. He doesn't really have any respect, for that child either, you know. And so, I mean, it's very, and the sad thing about it, this is the really sad thing about this whole situation, is you just have dumb, I would equivalent, I would compare them to dumb blondes. They're just agreeing with everything he says. Which goes on to tell me that, they're happy just being rugs that are just stepped on. And that makes no sense at all. you know. And so, I was raised to have a balanced approach to this, you know. Um, and my approach is this. We have to, you know, as men and women, this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but as men and women, we have to basically find like, we have to build each other up. You know, we have to, you know, find solutions for our problems. You know, man can't do it by himself, and women can't do it by herself. You know, with the combination of men and women together attempting to build, you know, like whether you're trying to build a household, whether you're trying to build like a business, whether you're trying to build just something, there has to be unity. And that's how you can move forward, you know? And, unfortunately, what we see now is that, I guess Nature Boy and the rest of them, women over there, feel that being half naked or being fully naked is their way of being liberated, or them ways of or them their way of liberating themselves from the quote unquote Babylon system, and that's not the case at all. That's the thing. And it's just ridiculous. It really is. I'm gonna say something. There's nothing wrong with a woman who wants to be a stay-at-home mom. There's nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But what I'm saying is that a woman should be entitled to intellectually stimulate herself, economically stimulate herself, and financially, economics, finance is the same thing, but maybe physically stimulate herself. And what I mean by that is like exercising regularly, maybe, doing something like that. But just to tell a woman that her place is just in the house, barefooted, taking care of, barefooted and pregnant, basically, that's just, for me, disgusting. You have to really think about history. Throughout history, we've had examples of how men and women have built processes together. This Grenada is one of them. The Haitian Revolution is another one, where women were actively involved in doing what they had to do, while still being mothers or still caring for the house. I think it was one thing I watched that, a woman said that, she'll be a mother and she'll be a wife and take care of the house, but if it comes to defending her country, she'll be there with her AK-47 rifle. And so this is just my point. Like, for you to say that that's where a woman belongs and that a woman should not work or anything like that, that just tells me that you're afraid of a woman being empowered. And what I mean by empowered, with a woman having dignity for herself, a woman having respect for herself, a woman knowing her value, but still knowing that, you know, a man compliments her and she compliments a man. You know, that's just my point in the whole thing. I'm not talking about the whole feminist movement where a woman is saying, oh, you know, I can do what a man can do. You know, I don't need a man, this, that, and the other. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about a balance where a woman can truly be an individual while still being a mother and while still being someone who looks after the house. Okay? What if a woman wants to work? What if a woman wants to have a trade or something? You're going to stop her from doing that? If anything, that should like spur you on that she's trying to better herself. That should push you to want to better yourself. You know, so I mean, all I'm gonna say, man, and I'm gonna just end this video, is that if you follow this clown still, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you, because it's just a broken record over and over again. You know, it's just a broken record. You know, with the same thing. And it's real sad that the women over there accept it. Basically, they accept it, but I'm sorry to say it, they lack into, like, they're intellectually lacking anyway, you know, meaning that they need medical help for their mental conditions, basically. Because, you know, I can only speak for me. If I was in a woman's body and a man just said my only place is the house, and being married, and that I shouldn't pursue like degrees or just pursue bettering myself as an individual, then nah, you know, that's when I would stop listening to that guy. But anyhow, man, that's all I got for now, man. Leave your thoughts and leave your comments. Fula signing out. Njara.